Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your girl Mitzi, and this is Mitzi. Let's think about it. Today, we are thinking about what it means to be a hero. Yes, that is what we are thinking about today because we really need to think about this. What does it mean to be a hero? Well, I have Brad here who's going to help us really think about this in a whole new way. So, thank you so much, Brad, for sharing your
Yeah,
time and your perspective with me. Let's just dive right in. When you hear
sure.
those words, what it means to be a hero, what does that make you think about?
Yeah. Um, that's that's a great question. What does it make me think about? Um, I guess what originally got me thinking about that. I'm a writer on the side as well. On the side, I write sci-fi, and sort of the inspiration for one of my most recent stories kind of plays with that theme. And what triggered that original thought was like way back in like 2015 or so, we had the big Syrian refugee crisis at that time as things were kind of falling apart in that country. And I remember, watching the news, and you'd have these streams of refugees coming in, and there were certain news commentators of certain political persuasions that were, sort of making this comment like, look at all these young men as refugees. They shouldn't be here as refugees. They shouldn't be coming to our country. They should be staying home and fighting for their country. And it kind of got me thinking, like what does it mean to be a hero? Like, is a hero somebody who stays and fights and dies and kills for their country, or is a hero somebody who like gets their family and just gets out of there? Like, is getting your family out of harm's way any less of a heroic effort than standing and fighting? Like, both are needed, but is any one of those actions more more worthy of respect than the other? It got me thinking about that.
Yeah, I think that is a valid thought because it really does make you put it into perspective. If you look at the grander scope of things, everybody should be fighting for their country,
Yeah.
fighting for what they love and all this stuff, but it's like when it gets to the smaller increments, isn't it your heart where your heart is? Shouldn't you fight for it? Isn't where if it's that if your heart is for your family, if your heart is for your children or for your pets,
Yeah.
or for whatever that it is for you, shouldn't that be enough? But for some people, it's not enough. For some people, it seems like they should be doing more, they should be doing less, or they shouldn't be depending on this or that or the other. And
Yeah.
there's always like this tug of war happening. So what is your opinion on how someone can really validate for themselves if if the moment ceases to be heroic?
Yeah, that's a good question. Like, how do you know what's right for you? Um, all right. So I think yeah, I think a lot of it kind of comes down to I don't know. Yeah, a lot of it comes down to just your reading of the particular situation that you're in. Because yes, sometimes you do have to sort of stop and fight, and sometimes that's the right thing to do. But yeah, sometimes I think it's sort of like you're reading. So I've done research in organizational wisdom and like what does that mean and stuff like that. And I love this little phrase, this little quote that was I think developed by Bent Flyvberg a while ago. He's like, wisdom is doing the ethically practical based on your specific context. And I sort of like that, the ethically practical based on your context. So it's kind of like being able to read your environment and determining what is best at that moment in time, sort of being driven by the sense of values. I think whether you fight for your community or you take your community and run, like either way, you're sort of acting on behalf of your community. But a lot of it is just, yeah, that sort of reading on the ground, like what are my skills, what are my abilities, and what does my family need right now, or what does my community need right now in this moment, and then yeah, having the courage to act either way. I think a lot of times the reason why, people, those commentators were sort of like, I don't know, not teasing, but sort of putting down the refugees is that running away is kind of seen as cowardice. Yet I think if you look at the fate of refugees, I think there's just as much danger running away as there is in staying and fighting. When you kind of look at what actually happens to a lot of, a lot of them end up dying on boats and going into horrible refugee camps. And yeah, it's just being able to kind of being led by your values, being led by sort of what you think is right, and then sort of your read of the situation, and then having the courage to do what you think needs doing in that moment.
Oh, absolutely. No, you're right. Don't doubt yourself. Don't doubt yourself. What you're
Yeah.
saying is on point, and I love the fact that you went about it in this manner because I don't think people realize it's a damn if you do, damn if you don't
Yeah.
situation. It
Yeah.
just depends on the context. You know what I mean? Like, if are you gonna stay at your home knowing that there's a flood coming? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Are you gonna stay or are you gonna fight for your home and put up guards or you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
what are you gonna do? And I think it's what you can do in the means of your life and what's accessible for you. And if somebody has better means than another person, well, they're going to do the best that they can with what they are have and what they are given. And I think the problem comes with the outside perspective. You know what I mean? That
Mhm.
the outside perspectives, they always
The
like to
armchair
opinion,
critics.
yeah, they like to give their opinions of, oh, I well, if that was me, I would have done it differently.
Yeah.
Like, would you? Would you
Yeah.
really? Because if it was you, you'd probably be running away faster than the other people would have. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
we really have to put it into context. And I know you said you're a writer.
Yep.
So how do you create a hero in your writing?
That's yeah. The way that I do it, I always I don't know, just the way that I write, I always write, sort of protagonists that are facing a choice, really. I mean, I think that's kind of how you do it, is you give your characters a really stark choices. And so yeah, like the novel that I wrote inspired by that was sort of, I kind of that was the choice. She had a family that was dependent on her and her society was kind of crumbling and she was young. She wanted to go off and fight and be a hero like her father was, but she has this brother that's dependent on her. And yeah, you give him that choice, how do you make the hero? You give that hero an impossible choice. Like either choice that they make has costs, and you just sort of have them wrestle with that. Um, and yeah, sort of make that choice at the end. By the end of the story, you force that choice on them. You see what they do. You see what they do
Exactly.
and
And
deal
is
with the
it
consequences.
people don't realize like in one moment in time, it can be a heroic moment to save your people, save your country, save
Yeah,
whatever that's going on in your scenario, even if it's in a book or if it's in real life.
yeah,
And even in the movies, you know, you see sitcoms, you see movies, you see series, you see all these situations where they have to make an impossible choice. I love the
yeah,
fact that you said that because it's true. We have to make these impossible choices, not realizing the repercussions of it later on in life. Like,
yeah,
oh, you saved your people, great, and then later on you realize you're considered to be a murderer and you're considered to be the world's enemy because you made this choice for your people, you know? So it's
yeah,
just like you really have to take things with a grain of salt also because it's like
yeah,
if you are deciding to make this choice, then you have to know that later on those choices may come back to you in a different form, in a
yeah.
different way.
And I also think like sort of just human biases. We tend to look at the past as a foregone conclusion. Like we when we look back, we say like, oh, of course that's what happened. But like when you're in the moment, you don't really know what the outcome of your choices are going to be, right? Like so many of these choices in life, you don't. I know you make a choice and you don't know if it was the right one until 5 years after the fact, and you like, am I in jail? Am I still alive? Am I still happy? What's going on here?
Exactly.
So yeah, there's I think that's also, the tendency with, the armchair critics is that, yeah, you have that sense of knowing because you've seen it after the fact, whereas in the moment you're just bathed in uncertainty, and you have to make the choice with that uncertainty. Like you don't know what the consequence is going to be, and yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah, I agree. It is an uncertainty because it's like it comes back to the damn if you do, damn if you don't. But if you sit on the fence and you don't make a decision, that's still a
yeah.
choice and that
That's
has repercussions.
absolutely
It
yeah,
has
yeah.
big
Choosing,
one.
yeah. I always, in different contexts and stuff like that, I think a lot of people have a lot of yeah, a lot of times people, and so this is just even small things like shifting the gears away from like the big world conflicts and stuff like that. Even small things like I know people who have a strong sense of sort of values and what needs doing at work and just in the work world. And like, they speak out at meetings like what, the decisions that we're making are wrong or they have these negative consequences and they speak out at meetings. But they're like a lone voice, and there'll be like a bunch of people that will text them and say, like, yeah, we agree with you. But they'll text them, they won't actually support them in the meeting.
Hmm.
Um, and they just sort of let this one person hang. And like
Hmm.
sometimes courage is, yeah, just this ability to sort of speak out and support somebody. And yeah, I don't know. Um, like heroism doesn't have to be this big thing of like, saving your family. It can just be adding your voice to somebody at a meeting at work who's saying something that you believe in, but they're a lone voice. And here's the thing, like in an organization, it's easy to smash down a lone voice. And that's sometimes why we are afraid to lend our support to something that might not be popular with the superiors because we're afraid we'll get smacked down as well. But yeah, yeah, having that courage to take that action, I think, is part of the heroism. What does it take to be a hero?
Oh, absolutely. And I'm glad that you brought that up because I don't think a lot of people consider the fact that courage really does change things. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
It
yeah,
changes people's perspectives, it changes people's actions, it changes people's motives and the way that they see the world. But it's like sometimes we have to have the courage because when you're just
hmm,
neutral with
yep,
everything, then it's like lukewarm water. Like it's
yep,
nasty. You know what I mean? I mean, yeah,
yep,
you could drink it, but it's not very refreshing. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Versus drinking an ice cold water or a hot tea or hot drinks. You know what I mean? It's that lukeness that's like, ugh, it leaves you a nasty flavor in your mouth.
And,
You know, you have
and
to do something.
and it comes back to your point that doing maintaining like your silence maintains the status quo, right? Your silence maintains the status quo, and that's a choice. Choosing to be silent maintains the status quo. You're choosing the status quo, and there's costs to that as well. And I think sometimes people, yeah, they view doing nothing as a cost-free choice, and it's not. The status quo has a cost, and your silence is you choosing the status quo. You're that lukewarm water, and
Mm.
there's a cost to that, and there's a price you pay for that as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I love how you talked about earlier, that people don't realize the consequences for their actions or the choices for their actions until later on in life, because in the moment it's like, okay, what's really going to happen? Or it doesn't really seem that bad if I stay on this
Yeah,
side, but if I go on that side, then I'm gonna have to deal with all of this other treacherement. And a lot of the times people don't want to suffer. You know what I mean? They don't
yeah,
want to suffer first to stand on something. Because if they
yeah,
stand on one side, then it's like that means now people are gonna look at me this way. And I think a lot of the times people's reputation
yeah.
is the reason why they don't want to stand for anything. So it's like for you, how do you deal with reputation, or what does reputation make you think about?
Yeah, I know, right? So part uh, part of it, I'm a middle-aged man now, and part of it is like you get to a certain age where you're just like, ah, screw it. Like I've I've got the friends that I want, and now it's like you like me. Or, you know what I found is be who you are, and then the people that are drawn to you will be people that like who you are, and you'll have a good tribe, right? Early on in my career, you try to it's like, oh, I want to conform. I gotta, like they tell you this advice, like, oh, you know, you should dress like the people in the position you want to have, right? So if you want to be a VP, you should dress like the VPs dress, like they teach you to conform, right?
Hmm.
Um, and a lot of people, I think, sort of put on this mask or this face when they go to work and they go into the environment because they want to conform, they want to be seen as a certain way. And I don't know, there's um, something freeing. It's a choice to just be genuine to who you are, be who you are, and you'll get jobs that are aligned with that, and you'll get friends that are aligned with that. And like it's freeing because now you don't have to like put on a face when you go to work and be this other person or this other entity, right?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, and I say part of that for me at least came with age. Like after a while, you're just like, ah, played the game. I've seen how this game plays out. I'm tired of this BS. I'm just going to be me. I'm just going to be me. I'm going to be me in my emails. I'm going to
Yeah.
be me in my, interactions on meetings, and people will like me or not like me for that, and that's actually good, because then the people that come to me, that follow me, that want to be with me will actually be sort of where I want to be.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
sort of, I think having that, so how do you make those choices? Like getting to that stage in your life when you have that insight. When you have that insight and you're just kind of like, you know what? I'm tired. Yeah. Say after a couple of years, you're like, oh, I'm just tired of playing games, and I'm just gonna, you know,
Exactly, because people don't realize your reputation is what people put on you, but your
yeah,
character is what you
yeah,
believe in yourself. And I wish more people can realize your character is so much more valuable than this reputation that you feel like you have to uphold, because that's people putting you on a pedestal, and you don't
yeah,
have to be on no pedestal. That whatever society wants you to be and how to portray and act and look and all these things that you can fill in the blank for yourself and what it means to you. But it's like your character that holds value. That's where you
yeah,
become heroic. That's where you become real. That's where you become seen, because people
yeah,
will realize, okay, well, I know Brad is going to speak up in this meeting because he's not going to tolerate this, this, and this. You know what I mean? Like you
yeah,
people already know what's going to expect of you because of your character.
yeah,
That's what you carry. And a lot of the people don't carry their character, they carry their reputation. And when it doesn't align, it clashes and people can see it. People
yeah,
can realize, like, you know what? Something's not right here. Brad is not adding up the way that he was last time or the time before. So it's like we really have to remember that what has to really step into that heroism is just
yeah.
being true to yourself and recognizing that not everybody's going to see your value, but as long as you see the value in what you have set your heart for, then that's all that matters. That's how I
And
see it.
absolutely. And uh, so part of the research that I've done, I'm also a university professor, so I've done research, and so some of the research that I've done, it kind of looks at like sort of ask this question, like why do good people do bad things? Like, why do good people do bad things in organizations? And so sort of unpacking that a little bit, right? So. In one of my classes, I have students sort of do this introspective study where they start to identify what their values are, what their principles are, and stuff like that. And it's one of my favorite project, because it's just this unrelenting wave of like the goodness of the human spirit. People's principles are all like, yeah, they want to, be sort of there for their friends, there for their family. They want to like be pillars of their community. Like their principles are all, they want to be this positive force in the world. And then it's like, okay, so if everybody wants to be like a good person and a positive force in this world, why do we still have so many bad things happening? Why do these people go off, get jobs in companies that like dump chemicals in rivers? Like, how does that happen? What happens to people where they get jobs with companies that dump chemicals in river and do things that might not be what we would consider to be, ethically robust, right?
Yeah.
And when you sort of get into the research of that, like what's happening, there's like a lot of dynamics that happen. But one of the things that I found interesting was there's this concept, they call it moral mazes.
Hmm.
And so, one of the aspects of these moral mazes is that people who do well in companies, people who do well in corporations and jobs, like you get promoted not based on living in accordance with your values, but on making your boss happy. Um, and so people who become really good at climbing the ladder become good at sort of adopting the values of their boss or the whatever the power structure is, and then sort of being a part of that, right? Um, and so yeah, and that can lead, if those people who are good at sort of conforming their values to others end up being the ones that get to be in charge of companies because they're the ones that climb the ladder. And so you have these people in charge of companies who have demonstrated this ability to have malleable values and principles in order to achieve a goal. And so, yeah, like I think, like, how do we make the world a better place? Some of that is the courage to um, focus on your values rather than the values of the organization, or when you see the values of the organization might be a little bit not quite what you think they should be, like having that courage to speak up and be that voice that can change maybe the like that has power, like being a voice, and you can have an impact, you can shift things, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And just having that courage to like, you know what? I'm going to make this choice based on my values, not on the values of my boss or what, what this incentive structure is. Yeah, I think if more people did that, yeah, like, yeah, what would the world be like if more people were like that in
Oh,
corporations? What would the world be
absolutely.
like?
Because if you really do think about it in a deeper sense, that the reason why, like, in let's say like in a fantasy world, why does Batman become Batman? You know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
he's vengeance. He's coming out to help the ones that can't help themselves. You know what I mean? All these superheroes, they do something, but who's to say? And then you have these politicians that are like, but we never asked for your help. We never wanted superheroes. So why are you here? Why are you creating all these problems? So it's just like always this give and take that your perspective can be somewhat good intentions, but
yeah,
another person can see that as bad intentions because you're
yep,
not looking at it in the whole. You're looking at it as a
yep,
selfish thing. So if you want to kill so and so, well, you're not considering the problems that you may come after. Like people, a lot of the times people say, well, you kill one drug lord, then another drug lord is going to come right up under them. You know what I mean? That's all
right,
you're doing. You're not really solving the problem. You're just
yeah,
allowing another person to come in to take the spot. So I don't think a lot of the times people consider the long-term effects because they're so
yep,
focused on, well, they hurt me, they killed my
yep.
child, so now I got to
I've
kill
heard that.
them. You know what I mean? That
Yep,
payback, that vendetta that they always have to get. But it's like sometimes just seeing things in a different perspectives is
yeah.
allows you to heal in a deeper level that a lot of people don't think about. So I have to ask you, what would be your superpower if you could have one?
Oh, well, it'd be, yeah, yeah. It's funny. As I mentioned before, I'm a middle-aged man, so middle-aged. So my superpower would be the ability to like heal and just right, just like my knee hurts, like zook, it's healed. Oh, I tore my Achilles, zook, it's healed. That's you know, that's an old man superpower. Oh, I wish I could just heal again.
No, I'm with you. I think healing is would be a great superpower
Yeah,
because that's kind of like another form of immortality if you think
yeah,
about
yeah,
it because now you're constantly healing things. Oh, my arteries clogged, healing, and
yeah,
then boom, it's no longer clogged. You know, you can keep on
yeah,
thriving. Oh, my skin is torn. Oh, let me heal it, you know. So
yeah.
I think that's another great way to really think about superpowers because I've yet to have someone say they would want to have that healing power. They've
Yeah.
talked about communications, flying, traveling, but like that healing is so real because health is now wealth, you know what I
I
mean?
know.
People can
Totally.
have billions
Totally.
of dollars and get as many transplants as they can afford, but it doesn't heal you if your body keeps on rejecting the liver, rejecting the kidney,
Yeah.
rejecting
Yeah.
these parts of you, you know? So it really
Amen.
does change the momentum when you can actually heal
So,
yourself.
so what would be your superpower?
If I can
Yeah.
have any superpower, I would want the to know people's intentions.
Yep.
You know what I
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Like not
Yeah.
necessarily read their minds because I wouldn't want to have that nonsense so much, but I would want to know somebody's intentions. Like
Yeah.
why are you doing this? You know what I mean? What is the reason?
Yeah.
Where's your
What's
motive?
going
You know what
on?
I mean? I think exactly like I want to know people's intentions. I think that would be the coolest superpower ever because I can just look at someone and be like, why are you eating that way?
Yeah.
Or why are you doing this? Why are you climbing up this thing? Like,
Yeah.
what is your intentions for all of this? Because sometimes people don't have intentions. They're just doing just like you said, please somebody else. And it's like sometimes when we realize where our intentions are, then we realize where our motives are, where our
Yeah.
values are, and then
Yeah.
you can kind of protect yourself from people who have bad intentions. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I don't know. I think that would be a pretty cool superpower to
Yeah.
have.
Yeah. That'd be
Um,
pretty cool.
yeah.
You could
So it's
determine, you could distinguish between the people that had bad intentions for you versus those that like you're in conflict with, but they mean well.
hmm
Like they just see this because sometimes you're in conflict with people and it's like they're not bad people. They just see a different thing than you see, or they're trying to come at it at
yeah.
a different way than
Yeah.
you, and then you end up butting heads. And so being able to distinguish, being like, yeah, you know what, like you mean well. It's just we're on a different page. Whereas like
Yeah.
do not have my best interests at heart. So screw you.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And then because a lot of people they know how to say the right words, say
Yeah.
the right tone, act the right way, dress the right way, but their intentions are very malice, very, very selfish, very sadistic, very, you know what I mean? So many different
Yep.
ways where it's just like I can protect myself from being into something that I never need to be in, you know? So
Yep.
I think that would be a great one. But time is catching up to us. So what can be some lasting words that you can leave us off with to keep on thinking?
Yeah, have the courage to act. Just yeah, that's and small things as well. If somebody is speaking out at a meeting and they're saying what you agree with, just add your voice to theirs. It doesn't have to be big things. You don't have to like fight for you don't have to like pick up weapons or take your family and run. A lot of it is just small choices every day. Small choices every day adds up to a huge impact. So
Absolutely, not to discourage that because those small choices they really do add
they
up.
matter.
It's like taking small steps. Like if you have to walk the Great Wall of China, I mean, you're gonna take little steps to get to
Yep.
the one side to the other side, but you'll eventually get to the other side versus taking long strides or jumping or running and then exhaust yourself for no reason. So,
Yep.
those small steps really do make a difference. And ladies and gentlemen, if you want to know more about Brad, because how could you not after this conversation? Go check him out. I have access to his link in the description so you can find all the great content that he has to offer on his website, just so you can continue on thinking. So with that being said, bye.